It is not permissible to utilize a 120-volt panel as a raceway for a 277-volt circuit. The National Electrical Code, specifically Article 404.4d, addresses situations involving conductors within enclosures, but this section does not authorize the passage of a 277-volt circuit through a 120-volt panel. The intent of Article 404.4d primarily focuses on grounding and bonding conductors, ensuring proper electrical safety and equipment grounding. This section aims to establish a secure and reliable path for fault currents, minimizing the risk of electrical shock and equipment damage. It's crucial to understand the distinction between using an enclosure for housing conductors of a specific voltage system versus using it as a raceway to transit conductors of a different voltage system. A panel board, such as a 120-volt panel, is designed and rated for specific voltage and current levels. Introducing conductors of a significantly higher voltage, like 277 volts, can compromise the panel's insulation, clearances, and overall safety rating. Such a practice would violate several fundamental principles of electrical safety and could lead to hazardous conditions. There are specific requirements for the separation of different voltage systems, as outlined in the National Electrical Code. These requirements are in place to prevent voltage breakdown, arcing, and other potential hazards that can arise when conductors of different voltage levels are in close proximity. Utilizing a panel as a raceway without proper consideration for these requirements could result in code violations and, more importantly, create a dangerous electrical installation. When dealing with electrical installations, it is always essential to adhere to the National Electrical Code and local electrical codes. These codes provide comprehensive guidelines for safe and reliable electrical systems. If there is any doubt or uncertainty, it is advisable to consult with a qualified electrical contractor or a licensed electrical engineer. These professionals possess the necessary knowledge and expertise to ensure that electrical installations are performed correctly and in compliance with all applicable regulations. There are numerous reasons why it is unsafe and not permitted to run a 277-volt circuit through a 120-volt panel. Firstly, the panel's components, such as breakers and busbars, are designed and rated for 120 volts. Exposing them to 277 volts could lead to insulation breakdown and arcing. Secondly, the clearances within the panel may not be sufficient for 277-volt conductors, potentially causing short circuits and fires. Thirdly, the panel's grounding system may not be adequate for a 277-volt circuit, increasing the risk of electrical shock. Fourthly, the National Electrical Code specifically prohibits the use of enclosures for purposes not intended by their design. A 120-volt panel is intended to house and protect 120-volt circuits, not to act as a raceway for a higher voltage system. Fifthly, such a configuration could create confusion and safety hazards for anyone working on the electrical system in the future. It would not be readily apparent that a 277-volt circuit is passing through a 120-volt panel, potentially leading to accidental contact with live conductors. Therefore, it is imperative to find an alternative and code-compliant method for routing the 277-volt circuit to its intended destination. This may involve installing a dedicated raceway, such as a conduit, or utilizing an existing raceway that is properly sized and rated for the 277-volt circuit. It is also essential to ensure that all conductors are properly identified and labeled to prevent confusion and ensure safety. Proper identification includes marking the voltage and circuit designation of each conductor. This allows electricians and other qualified personnel to easily identify the conductors and avoid accidental contact with live circuits. Additionally, it is crucial to use appropriate wiring methods and materials that are suitable for the voltage and current levels of the circuit. This includes selecting conductors with the correct insulation rating and using connectors and terminations that are designed for the specific application. When working with electrical systems, safety should always be the top priority. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it is essential to take all necessary precautions to prevent accidents. This includes wearing appropriate personal protective equipment, such as safety glasses and insulated gloves, and energizing circuits before working on them. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is always best to hire a qualified electrical contractor to perform the work. Attempting to perform electrical work without proper training and experience can be hazardous and could lead to serious injury or even death. Moreover, it is crucial to understand the potential consequences of violating electrical codes. Violations can result in fines, penalties, and even legal action. In addition to the financial and legal repercussions, code violations can also compromise the safety of the electrical system and put people at risk. Therefore, it is always essential to ensure that all electrical work is performed in accordance with the National Electrical Code and local electrical codes. To ensure a safe and compliant electrical installation, consider these alternatives to running a 277-volt circuit through a 120-volt panel. Firstly, install a dedicated conduit or raceway system specifically for the 277-volt circuit. This ensures proper separation and protection for the high voltage conductors. Secondly, utilize an existing raceway that is properly sized and rated for 277 volts. Verify that the raceway has sufficient capacity and is approved for the intended application. Thirdly, install a separate junction box to transition the 277-volt circuit from one raceway to another. This provides a safe and accessible point for connecting conductors. Fourthly, consult with a qualified electrical engineer to design a custom solution that meets the specific requirements of the installation. A qualified engineer can assess the existing electrical system and recommend the most appropriate and code-compliant approach. Fifthly, when selecting conductors and components for the 277-volt circuit, ensure that they are rated for the appropriate voltage and current levels. This includes conductors, connectors, terminations, and overcurrent protection devices. Remember, electrical safety is paramount. Always prioritize safety and compliance with electrical codes when working with electrical systems. If you are unsure about any aspect of the installation, seek guidance from a qualified electrical professional. By following these guidelines, you can ensure a safe and reliable electrical system that meets all applicable requirements. The National Electrical Code is a comprehensive set of standards that governs the safe installation of electrical wiring and equipment. It is updated every 3 years to reflect advancements in technology and address emerging safety concerns. It is essential for electricians, electrical contractors, and other qualified personnel to stay up to date on the latest edition of the National Electrical Code to ensure that their work complies with the most current standard. In addition to the National Electrical Code, many local jurisdictions also have their own electrical codes that may be more stringent than the National Code. It is important to be familiar with the local electrical codes in your area to ensure that your work complies with all applicable regulations. The National Electrical Code covers a wide range of topics, including wiring methods, overcurrent protection, grounding, bonding, and equipment installation. It also includes specific requirements for different types of occupancies, such as residential, commercial, and industrial buildings. When performing electrical work, it is essential to consult the National Electrical Code and any applicable local codes to ensure that the installation meets all requirements. Failure to comply with these codes can result in fines, penalties, and even legal action. Moreover, code violations can compromise the safety of the electrical system and put people at risk. Therefore, it is always essential to prioritize safety and compliance with electrical codes when working with electrical systems. If you have any questions or concerns about electrical safety or code compliance, it is always best to consult with a qualified electrical professional. A qualified electrical professional can provide expert guidance and ensure that your electrical work is performed safely and in accordance with all applicable regulations. In summary, you cannot use a 120-volt panel as a raceway for a 277-volt circuit due to safety concerns and National Electrical Code violations. Always follow proper wiring methods and consult with a qualified electrician for any electrical work.